Welcome to the deep dive. You know we love to go deep on some out there concepts here, and today we're diving into the world of dragons, witches, even a bit of time travel.
Time travel, oh boy, this is going to be good.
Yeah, we'll be exploring excerpts from a discussion titled Esoteric Explorations, Dragons, Rebirthing, and the Dark Goddess.
That was intense.
And it is. It's a discussion that goes way beyond just abstract ideas. These folks are sharing real experiences, personal accounts, and historical references that really make you question what we think is possible.
Oh, I love that. Real stories always make these esoteric concepts so much more tangible.
One of the first things that really jumped out at me was this idea of using dropping through the veil for research purposes.
Dropping through the veil. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, it's like astral projection, but with a specific intention of gathering information. Like you're actively going out there to learn something.
So you're not just wandering around the astral plane, you're going with a mission.
Exactly. And that raises all sorts of questions about how we acquire knowledge. What are the boundaries between the physical and non-physical realms? Can we trust information obtained in such an unconventional way?
Right. Is it like cheating? Some people might think so.
Some of the participants actually expressed that same skepticism, like it's somehow cheating to gain knowledge that way.
It reminds me of that fictional witch who refuses to use magic because she thinks it's too easy. It takes away the challenge.
It makes you wonder if there are ethics involved in esoteric research, just like in any other field.
For sure. Just because it's esoteric doesn't mean it's a free-for-all.
Now, speaking of fascinating concepts, can you tell me about this story from the discussion about a meditation experience in High Point, North Carolina? Something about connecting with an extraterrestrial consciousness.
Oh, yes, this one's wild. So these folks are meditating, right? And one of them claims to have made contact with an extraterrestrial consciousness.
Okay, that's already pretty out there, but it gets even weirder, right?
Way weirder. Because this consciousness was supposedly using a cat as its physical vessel.
Wait, what? A cat?
Yes, a cat. And as if that wasn't strange enough, the cat unexpectedly becomes pregnant. So now they've got this whole dilemma when it's time for this being to return to its spaceship.
Oh man, I can only imagine the complications that would cause. But on a more serious note, if consciousness can inhabit a cat, what does that tell us about the nature of consciousness itself?
Huge question, right? Could it exist in any form? Does it need a physical body at all? This account really challenges our traditional understanding of the soul or spirit.
It pushes those boundaries of what we consider possible. And speaking of pushing boundaries, this discussion then takes a sharp turn towards dragons.
Dragons. Okay, now we're talking. I'm always up for a good dragon story.
Me too.
Yeah.
But they're not approaching it from the usual angle. They talk about these secret places of the lion, guarded doorways to the sacred. It's a metaphor, of course.
Right, like a test you have to pass to access hidden knowledge.
Exactly. But then they connect it to dragons as self-aware plasma in flight.
Wait, plasma, like the fourth state of matter. Like lightning and fire.
That's the one. And it really makes you rethink those old depictions of dragons breathing fire. What if those weren't just mythical exaggerations, but actual observations of a real phenomenon?
Wow, you're right. It's like those ancient cultures were witnessing something that we're only beginning to understand now with modern science.
Precisely. And they go on to describe their personal experiences with dragon-like entities at this place called Deciphereed.
Deciphereed now. Where have I heard that before?
It's one of those places shrouded in mystery, with legends and stories swirling around it. So they're not just talking about mythical creatures. They seem to believe these are actual beings made of energy.
That's a pretty radical reinterpretation of dragon lore. It definitely adds another layer to all those old stories.
It definitely does. And it actually ties into their concept of dragon slaying.
Oh, interesting. So what, are they actually out there battling dragons?
Not in the literal sense. They're talking about it as a metaphor for mastering the forces that dragons represent.
So less about physical combat, more about inner mastery.
Exactly. And they connect it to something called the center displaced point. This idea that the individual who can balance and control the four elements, earth, air, fire, and water, becomes the dragon rider.
Ooh, that dragon rider.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. But wait, back up a second. What's this center displaced point? I'm not familiar with that.
Think of it like the central point of a compass. The needle spins around, right, representing the chaos of the elements, but the individual who occupies that center point, who stays calm and focused amidst the storm, that's the one who gains control.
I get it. So it's about finding that inner balance, that stillness in the middle of all the chaos, like a Zen master or something.
That's a great way to put it. And this idea isn't limited to esoteric traditions. You see it in martial arts, meditation, even leadership. It's about mastering yourself to master the world around you.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So what's next in this wild ride of a discussion?
Well, they shift gears a bit and start talking about a man named Vincent who had scoliosis. And they propose this possible connection between his condition and his grandmother's guilt over her witchcraft abilities.
Scoliosis and witchcraft. Okay, now I'm really curious.
This is where the discussion delves into intergenerational trauma, the idea that unresolved emotional issues can be passed down through families, even manifesting in physical ways.
So they're suggesting his grandmother's guilt, maybe about using her abilities, somehow contributed to his scoliosis. That's heavy.
It is heavy stuff, and it opens up a whole other conversation about how our ancestors' experiences, positive and negative, can impact us.
It makes you think about those skeletons in the closet, doesn't it? But in this case, it's more like energetic skeleton.
Exactly. And then they bring up the Benedonti. These were Italian witches who engaged in astral battles to influence the fertility of the land.
Astral battles. Like they were fighting on a whole other plane of existence.
That's right. Essentially, they were spiritual warriors, fighting for the well-being of their community.
That's a fascinating concept. And they were witches. Not in the stereotypical sense, I hope.
Well, not exactly. They were more like healers and protectors, working with the forces of nature for the good of all.
Okay, that's a refreshing perspective. But wait, there was something else about the Benedonti? Something about umbilical cords?
Oh, yes. That's where it gets even more intriguing. They mentioned that being born with a caul, a hole in the umbilical sac, is somehow linked to being more likely to be a lucid dreamer.
Whoa, hold on a second. A hole in the umbilical sac can influence your dream life.
That's what they're suggesting. It really makes you wonder about the connection between birth, memory, and our ability to navigate different states of consciousness.
It's like they're suggesting that our experience in the womb, even before we're born, can shape our consciousness in ways we're only beginning to understand. We're already talking about witches, dragons, and time travel, and we're only just getting started with this deep dive.
And believe me, it gets even more mind-bending from here. Buckle up. We're just getting started.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? All these strange connections. Like we're piecing together this giant puzzle with these fragments of ancient wisdom and modern science and personal experiences.
And like a good puzzle, the more pieces we fit together, the more complex and the more fascinating the picture becomes. And this next piece we're going to try and fit in deals with this concept of rebirthing.
Rebirthing. Okay, yeah, that was a big part of the discussion, wasn't it?
It was. And they weren't just talking about it as like an individual practice, but almost like a potential solution to some kind of collective trauma that humanity might be carrying.
A collective trauma. That's an interesting concept.
Isn't it? And it all ties back to birth. They brought up C-sections.
They did. And they were suggesting that perfect squeeze that happens when you're born naturally, through the birth canal, it's like essential for some kind of memory transfer.
It's like our memories aren't just stored in our brains.
That's kind of what they were implying. That there's something deeper going on, something energetic or spiritual that happens during that process. And that C-sections, while obviously sometimes medically necessary, they might actually be disrupting this process.
Wow, so the way we're born could actually be impacting our memory? Even our access to some deeper level of consciousness?
That was the suggestion, yeah. They even extended it to the entire human species, asking what a rebirthing for humanity might look like and how it could impact our, collective memory.
Okay, now we're getting into some really far out stuff. Now, I remember they mentioned the Anunnaki in this context, too, and cloning.
Oh, yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. So they were suggesting that cloning by the Anunnaki, these ancient Mesopotamian deities, might have actually played a role in humanity's loss of star memory.
Star memory? What is it, like some kind of cosmic amnesia?
Exactly. Like we've forgotten our connection to the cosmos, to our stellar origins.
Hold on. Are they saying that, our DNA got messed with, in some sci-fi movie or something?
It's a bold claim, for sure. But if you look at the Anunnaki myths, they often involve genetic manipulation. The creation of humans as a workforce.
So are they implying that, we were dumbed down, cut off from our cosmic heritage?
It's one way to interpret it. And they propose that Earth itself could actually act as a surrogate mother in a rebirthing process for humanity, to reclaim this lost connection to the cosmos.
Wow, that's a powerful image. Earth as this cosmic womb nurturing humanity back to its full potential. But how would that even work? like practically speaking?
Yeah, they don't really offer specifics, but they do emphasize things like meditation and lucid dreaming and exploring altered states of consciousness as ways to tap into this hidden knowledge.
So it's about going inward, exploring the depths of our own consciousness to reconnect with this larger cosmic awareness. It reminds me of that saying, as above, so below.
Exactly. It's like the answers we seek aren't out there in the stars, but within us, waiting to be discovered. Now, they also spend quite a bit of time talking about the dark goddess, which is a term that, often has some pretty negative connotations, but they seem to be reclaiming it in a really powerful way.
Yeah, they definitely weren't talking about some evil deity.
Not at all. What's really fascinating is that they connect the dark goddess to black holes.
Black holes, those things that suck everything in.
Those are the ones. Two things that are often seen as, destructive forces, but they suggest that that's a misunderstanding.
So, not a cosmic vacuum cleaner.
Nope. They present the dark goddess as this primal force of creation and destruction, like a cosmic womb from which all things emerge and to which they eventually return. And black holes, they see them as these points of singularity, where matter and energy are compressed to this unimaginable degree.
So not endpoints, but gateways to something else.
Exactly. And this all ties back to that idea of star memory. They're proposing that our connection to the cosmos, our awareness of our stellar origins, it's somehow encoded within us. And that by accessing this, like star memory, we could unlock incredible potential for human evolution.
So how do we tap into this hidden knowledge? Is there a secret handshake, a cosmic password?
They emphasize those same practices again: meditation, lucid dreaming, exploring altered states of consciousness. It's all about pushing the boundaries of perception, venturing beyond the limitations of, everyday reality.
We need to become explorers of our own inner space.
That's a great way to put it. And they suggest that by connecting with the energy of the dark goddess, by embracing the mystery and the power of black holes, we can start to reclaim our, lost heritage and tap into this vast reservoir of cosmic wisdom that lies within us.
Now, you remember Vincent, the guy who attempted time travel?
Oh, right. Vincent. Yeah, what about him?
Well, they suggested that his motivations might have been connected to healing some deep trauma, maybe even a collective one.
So not just personal healing, but healing something that extends beyond himself.
Exactly. They speculate that he might have been trying to change the course of history, undo some past wrong that had repercussions across generations.
But isn't time travel, super dangerous? What about paradoxes and the butterfly effect and all that?
Yeah, the discussion definitely acknowledges those complexities and the potential dangers of messing with time. But they also suggest that there might be ways to navigate those challenges, to act with, wisdom and compassion in a way that minimizes any negative impact.
So it's not about going back and trying to control the past, but understanding it, maybe even healing it.
Exactly. And this all ties into this concept of apocalypsis as an unveiling of truth. They propose that we're living in this time of great revelation where, hidden knowledge is being brought to light.
So apocalypse isn't about the end of the world, but more about a revelation of truth.
That seems to be their interpretation. It's less about fire and brimstone and more about confronting the shadows of our past, both individually and collectively, as, essential for creating a more enlightened future. And a big part of that is forgiveness. They talked a lot about forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Interesting. How do they tie that in?
They present it as a key to unlocking our, star memory. It's about releasing the burdens of the past, letting go of anger and resentment, and embracing, compassion and understanding.
So healing those old wounds, personal and collective, and allowing ourselves to move forward with a fresh perspective.
Exactly. And they suggest that this process of forgiveness, it can ripple outwards, impacting not just our own lives, but the collective consciousness of humanity as a whole.
That's a beautiful vision. But it also feels kind of daunting, where do we even begin with all this?
Yeah, it's a lot. They don't offer a step-by-step guide, but they really emphasize the importance of inner work, of exploring our own consciousness and connecting with that, wisdom that resides within us.
Yeah. We're being called to become pioneers of the soul, venturing into these uncharted territories of consciousness to discover who we truly are and what we're capable of.
It is a lot to wrap your head around, for sure. But it's exciting, too, right? To think about all these possibilities. It's we've been given this whole new set of lenses to view ourselves and the universe through.
It is. And when you put on a new pair of glasses and everything suddenly looks clearer. It's
Mm.
kind of like that. These lenses, they reveal these connections and patterns
Mm.
that we might have totally missed before.
It really highlights how much we still don't know and how much potential we might have that's just like lying dormant within us. One of the things that really stuck with me from that discussion was that idea of connecting with the earth, not just as a place we live, but as a living being.
Oh, absolutely. Like with its own wisdom and energy, right?
Exactly. It's that whole interconnectedness thing, you know? We're not separate from nature, we're part of it.
We are. We're all part of this like giant web of life. And they were saying that by tapping into the Earth's energy, that can be a powerful tool for healing and transformation.
Yeah, it kind of makes that image of the earth as a surrogate mother nurturing us back to our full potential even more
Yeah.
powerful, doesn't it?
It does. It's beautiful, really. It's like we've forgotten our connection to the source, to that cosmic womb we all emerged from. And this whole rebirthing thing they talk about, it's about remembering who we truly are, reclaiming that inherent wisdom and power.
It's not just about healing the past, but creating a new future, one that's like in harmony with ourselves, with each other, and with the planet.
Yeah. It's about like stepping into our roles as conscious co-creators of reality, recognizing that our choices, our actions, they have these like far-reaching consequences.
It all comes back to that idea of apocalypsis as this unveiling of truth, doesn't it? Like, we're being challenged to shed these old beliefs, to confront these, uncomfortable truths, and to embrace this new understanding of ourselves and the universe.
And to, awaken to our full potential, to step out of the shadows and into the light. It's a big task, but it's inspiring too, isn't it?
It is. It definitely makes you want to, like, roll up your sleeves and get to work both on yourself and on making the world a better place.
Absolutely. And we
Right.
don't have to do it alone, right? They emphasize the importance of community, of supporting each other on this path. We can learn from each other, we can share our insights, and we can like amplify our collective efforts to create positive change.
Yeah, we're all in this together. It's like we're all playing our part in this huge cosmic symphony. Well, we have explored some truly mind-blowing concepts in this deep dive. Astral projection, time travel, dragons, black holes. We've gone deep down some pretty wild rabbit holes.
We have. It's
Yep.
been quite a journey. And,
Mhm.
we've only just scratched the surface. But hopefully it's given you some new perspectives, some food for thought, and maybe even a little spark of inspiration to go out and explore these ideas further on your own.
What stood out to you? What rabbit holes are you curious about now? This is where our journey together ends. But your exploration, it's just beginning. And remember, those answers you're seeking, they're often found within.
Trust your intuition. Follow your curiosity. And never stop questioning, never stop exploring, and never stop expanding your understanding of yourself and the universe. Who knows what mysteries you might uncover along the way?